Good morning, fellow gamers. This is Maryland, and I have two guests, Anopey. I might not have the pronunciation right, but say
That
hello.
was correct. Hello. Hello, hello.
And Sumshine.
Hello.
And these two fellows had their duel in the new player bracket of the duels on Monday, which I streamed. And now we're going to talk about the last few turns and their game and ideas behind it, and so on and so forth. So let's start with Pretender Design. So let's start with Femoria, which is you, Anopey, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got so many of these going, but
Initially, actually, well, I'm a relatively new player, yes, and normally I always play and my idea behind playing is just, crafting a bunch of items. So I wanted to have a pretender that would be able to research and construct items from the get-go, have some like Fomorian King super combatants with their own items, and also have a pretty good bless. So I, went -3 on everything to achieve that.
well, yeah, and that's actually you guys have scales. I think both of you, your scales are not in the toilet for a duel. I've seen far worse because you actually have neutral order and neutral production and only drain 2, right? So I've seen worse. And we should,
Yeah.
in the previous one, I had your bless, but let's just watch it here and put your bless up, and we can discuss it. The easiest way for me is I just wait for something to bless. There we go. So here's your bless. So this is a fairly low cost bless, moderately.
Yeah, like this was
you can go more
directly
extreme.
taken from Barsai.
Is
You
it
recommended the
Barsai?
bless to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You recommended the bless to me.
So you've
And then I
got
just took it
a
from
little
there.
bit of earth, to give you strength and a bit of reinvigoration. You've got regeneration and blood bond, and then Stygian skin. So yeah, not brutal. Now we did comment, and this might be worth having a look at in a bit here. You chose a chassis that made this very expensive. You could have made this much cheaper with a different Pretender chassis. Did you realize that?
Yeah, true. I did not. Okay, so I thought that the pretender, like I don't remember its name, but it has a little luck modifier, yes? Like it doesn't
The Oracle?
let the Oracle, yes. It doesn't let negative events occur. So I thought that would be like maybe province wide, maybe a bit weaker, but in my entire nation. But apparently it's only in the capital, so
It's only in the
in hindsight,
province it's in. Yes. Well, here,
yeah.
let's,
And it cannot move, so it's in the capital, I guess.
what we're going to do here is let's pop out while we're talking to this, and let's build this guy.
Yeah, sure.
And I did this during the stream. So you selected the Oracle,
Oracle, yeah.
and your bless was you had to take 5 death, 5 blood. So that gets you blood bond. That gets you Stygian flash. And then you had 5 earth to get you strength and some reinvigoration, correct? And then that was it, right?
I think so.
For your bless.
Yeah.
Reinvigoration, strength, blood bond, and Stygian flesh. So to pay for that, you took cold, you took death, you took misfortune, and 2 drain. And somehow this is not working out. Yeah, I'm just trying to. If you open it up, and we'll just confirm that this is what you took. No, you didn't take death, or did you?
I did take death, 3 death. Yeah.
Right.
So there's 3 death, 4 dominion. He was awake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Oh no! That's what we missed.
Oh yeah,
regeneration.
It had nature.
There we
regeneration,
go.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what you took. So if we just, a little bit of guidance here. If we did this with the Demi-Lich, So that was 3 points left over. And to do the same thing with the demi-lich, and let's say
Wow.
you picked better Dominion,
Nice
you would
one.
have been able to have Order
Wow.
3 and Production 1 with the same bless.
Or I could have had like more Dominion too.
And you would have had much more Dominion. Almost,
Yeah.
So there's an example of a pretender. So one of the things I tell people when I'm guiding people is be sure your pretender does one thing well. And in your case, you want to get the bless cheaply. That is your primary job. Everything else the pretender may or may not do is secondary. The thinking behind this is a pretender can only do one thing a turn, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, if you are going with an expensive bless, which yours is quite expensive, the first job of your pretender is to be cheap to get that bless. Now, another pretender that might have worked is anything with good nature. So actually, the Great Mother probably can do that bless quite cheaply.
I do have a question. So, it does cost design
Hey,
points to
Barkay.
initially open up a new magic path, but does it also cost more to upgrade that particular magic path once it's open?
Okay, well, let's have a look here. So if we get rid of these extra paths and go back to the base, if you start from 2, the next point costs you 7. No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
8.
So it's not the tier of the point. It's how many points away it is from the starting point.
That's correct. So it's
Okay,
always
that's
cheaper
critical.
to start with a
Yeah.
higher base path. So
Makes
a
sense.
demi-lich can get 10 cheaply. And then it's got
okay.
new path cost is 20. But if you try to put,
also very cheap.
yeah, but look what happens if you try to put 10 death on an oracle. You have 83 points left.
Ah,
Yeah, so the cost of each path goes up geometrically. Like the specific math, I don't even usually think about it, but it's available. You can look it up. Basically, it's always most cost effective to start with a high path of the most expensive bless you think you'll buy. But
makes sense.
yeah, so the first one that came up, somebody suggested, was probably you'd have gotten that fairly broad bless, cheapest on a demi-lich. It might have been even a little cheaper on the crone, because she starts with death. She's really cheap. But you kind of muck about with chassis. You know, if you've picked a bless, then pick a chassis to fit the bless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So beyond that, your bless, I think, was quite viable. I saw. I'm not quite sure about the Stygian, and I'll show you why that might not have been the optimal. So let's take a moment here and look at your unmarked. So they start with natural protection of 5 already. So watch what happens when you bless them. Okay. Is this one blessed? Yes, he is. So now his natural protection becomes 10 instead of 5. But that's only 5 more. And then natural plus armor does not directly add, it adds with diminishing returns. So your net is only +3 for where you were before. So you spent 5 death points in the blast to get 3 protection on an unmarked.
I see, okay.
You see? So
yeah.
So Stygian Flesh is really good on sacreds that have no natural protection. It's okay on sacreds that have some, and it doesn't give you anything on sacreds that have high natural protection.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Rail is here. Looks like he's going to give us a link to probably the pretender calculator, I think. Although he might not be able to get a link posted. So there's something to consider. The regen was excellent. Extra strength is always good. And so there, anyways, that's just some some things that came up in the discussion and some suggestions. So let's move on from your bless and Sumshine, your Titan, which kept disappearing on me. You've got the Titan of Heaven. There it is at home. So, and let's, we need to find your bless somewhere. Did you have anything in this fight that was sacred? You didn't. So, do we have anything here? A Hierophant. So we should be able to see your bless on the Hierophant. It should bless itself. Just to, yeah, Rail, send me a message. Links probably don't work. Why is this battle not showing? Oh, I know. I have to do this differently. I just want to confirm your bless. So we're going to watch enough of a battle. It's about the only way when I'm streaming these that I can. Oh, sure. And now he's not going to cast bless, the moron. Come on, bless yourself, you idiot. I might have to look this bless up somewhere else. Or do you remember your bless, Sunshine?
Yeah. Was swiftness, major shock, fire and shock, minor magic, and magic weapons. 7 dominion.
Okay, let's see if we can build it here real quick, just for fun. There it is, Titan of Heaven. So you went quite a lot of air, major shock, swiftness.
And then 5 earth, fire
earth.
and shock.
5 earth for fire and shock. Did you have 7 or 6 air?
6.
6, okay. And 7 dominion?
Yep.
And
then 5 astral.
5 astral.
For minor magic resistance and magic weapons.
Magic weapons and MR, right. Okay, and then your scales were?
1 turmoil, 2
turmoil.
sloth,
2 sloth.
and 2 misfortune.
2 misfortune. So not bad. Quite good scales, really, for a duel. Definitely on the...
Yeah, I this is the first time I played Pangea, so getting anything to work took me a while. I mean, to work well enough to play it. But I wanted a Titan for sure, and it was mainly between the Titan of Heaven and the Titan of Forethought, which part of that was just because it was named Prometheus, and I thought that was cool. But that one has inspiring researcher, and part of the reason an Awake was recommended is because of the research bonus. So I thought that one would be good. But it didn't play quite as well as the Titan of Heaven. And I picked this bless because I was afraid of if I picked a Hell Bless, one of the options would made an Archon with a Hell Bless that expanded way better than this one. However, if I happen to if I made any major mistake, I don't know that I could recover from it as well with this, because this has the heavy shock resistance for the lightning spam. And my Dreamer game, I lost that on a major battle with Wrathful Skies, so I didn't want to let that happen again. And the rest, I like swiftness in general. That seems to work well for me every time I take it. And then magic weapons is another weakness, not really like easily compensated for, but
it's very
get rid of
popular in the dueling. Although it's going to depend a lot on who you're dealing with. And I mean, the thing about magic weapons is unless somebody takes something like Stygian Flesh, which he did, it doesn't do you anything. So it's specific to certain nations. in the matchup would be whether or not to take it.
If Fomori got to alt 7, I think, where Fog Warriors is, that magic weapons is a counter to that. So that was I was very specific to my opponent, and
yes. Well, it's also a good bless. I mean, Major Shock plus the extra Fire and Shock plus the magic weapons is a good counter to the obvious play, which was Air Elementals. You know, you knew you were going to see those. This is a very defensive bless, we commented. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it means that your killing power is limited to the native killing power of White Centaurs, which is good, but not as high as, say, somebody who took more strength or added a weapon bless or something. I mean, that's a choice. You chose good research and quite good scales for a duel with an awake. So plus high dominion, so you could make more White Centaurs.
Right, and then kind of my game plan, I was gonna go up to weapons of sharpness if we got to that point where I needed to deal a lot of damage.
Absolutely. With pans, earth buffs, marble warriors, iron warriors, weapons of sharpness, legions of steel, those are all key things for pan. So yes, that's very wise. Okay, so I'm back to the game on the stream. A couple of comments you guys might not see if you're watching on Discord versus on YouTube. Turns out the Titan of War and Wisdom might have been a little cheaper for your bless. And this guy's saying, yeah, you could use the Pretender calculator, which I did link, and I could show you guys that later again. But I would comment that in a beginner game, and this is beginner dueling, you don't need absolute perfection in your design. I wouldn't expect it in a beginner game. All right, so go ahead. I heard somebody was commenting.
Yeah, it was me. So this is live on YouTube.
Oh, who's here? We've got somebody else here.
Me, Lawrence Bader.
Okay, make sure you let the players speak the most. But go ahead. You got a comment?
Absolutely. I didn't. That's why I was asking. Is this on YouTube? Because in that case, I could leave. Because I just thought this was a regular chat room. That's
no, we're live. Why don't you?
Sorry, Merlin.
No, it's okay.
My back.
Why don't you stay and go silent, and then you can listen. Yeah, perfect. So great you came to visit, and we might move on to another topic once we're done going over this. I just wanted to be sure that the two players got to say their piece. So that's why I came into this channel, so that people could drop in, Lawrence. So no problem. Alrighty. All right, guys. So here we are. We are on, well, the only really big comment that I noticed regarding the Femoria Bless for you, Anopey, was, as you noted, your Dominion was low.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I
solid bless.
I actually did not know that more Dominion would let me build more bless units.
It would let you make more sacreds, yes.
Yeah.
So you would have
sacred units, yeah.
So a change of chassis to maybe the Demi-Lich or whatever, and then use those extra points to get some more candles, and you'd have been bringing out more unmarked or giants. So
yeah, I think that's like the biggest mistake on my part, because I could have made like twice more unmarked.
That's right.
At least, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so we are on turn 22, and everybody watched the early parts, and this thing was, I'm going to jump to the graphs. So here's the most difficult issue, is at this point, you guys wouldn't have seen this when you're playing, but you might have got an understanding of it. Pangea has a tremendous province advantage. And then here on income, another really big advantage on income. Both of those leading to his armies getting bigger. So, I don't know what I'm not really, okay, I don't know what this guy, There's a guy commenting on YouTube, and I don't know what he's getting at. So this is a significant factor. So this is turn 22, and the game doesn't go on too much farther. So maybe let's watch this battle now that we've sort of gone over the basics behind it. So you are just fighting province defense and some minotaurs.
Yeah.
And is your prophet here? Did we see Divine Bless?
My prophet is not here. No, he got caught.
Okay, so
on the
you've
other side
got
of the map.
okay, so you've got the Barghest. Looks like they're mostly blessed.
Yeah, that's why I brought on all the mages.
Oh
to try to-
no, a lot of them aren't blessed. Well, yeah, the thing is though, these guys can't bless anything, and your druids can bless if they're set to bless. So we can see. So he's set to blessing. What else you got? You've got a king here with some air gems, and he's blessing. Okay, so let's see how many you get blessed. Looks like the Barghests are going to run out without a bless, though. That hurts a bit.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I've had the Barghest is because they're sacred, so
Exactly. So yeah,
I'm
if
kind
you're
of
gonna
wasting it.
if you're gonna use sacreds, be sure you bring enough blessing. But these are things you get the hang of eventually. How much blessing do I need? Where do I? Now, one thing you really improved the first time you brought the Barghests out, you had them even in line with your front line, but then
Yeah,
later
they
on
move faster.
later on you put them farther back, and so then they had a chance to stay back a little bit, let the front lines engage, and then run to the rear. And so that works really well this time. And I know you get the pan. So your Barghests go roaring back there, and they kill the pan. And
Merlin,
once you... Yes, hello.
the H and G in Gaelic words are silent. The Fomorians, they're of Irish mythology,
Yeah, you mean the she.
and no, the Fomorians exactly. And if I think back, I think those dogs. I don't really know what they're called, but I just know that I'm not an expert in Gaelic myself. Barghests,
Barghests.
Barghests. Yeah, I'm not an expert in
Something
myself.
like that. Yeah. Okay.
Generally speaking, but my grandmother did. It's, fun fact. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. What I have learned about pronouncing Gaelic names in these games and things like that came from the author C.J. Cherry, who had a pronunciation guide in some of her books, so like Thina She and stuff. And then I had some friends that were Welsh that spoke some Welsh, and they taught me a bit. But it's by no means something I know a lot about.
And me neither, sir. Me neither. I'm from Belfast, so Gaelic language was not really something we're allowed to learn.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Alrighty. So that's my comments on that battle. But I think what we're seeing is basically we're just seeing a little bit of an economic snowball. Would you agree with that, Sumshine? Did you feel confident that you were winning economically?
Yeah, I was, and that battle for me too. That wasn't what I intended to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my chaff with the pan leading it. But what I intended to happen here is move in patrol with my entire, almost my entire force. I think I had a couple expansion parties elsewhere, but it was supposed to attack rear on both the flanks.
Oh, okay.
And I also had one or two more Stormcasters just for extra padding. I think because after he killed that here, Because what happened is I clicked the move and then forgot to change it to move in patrol because I can't.
Yes. Well,
But yeah, it was something that definitely would not have happened outside of a blitz.
Yeah,
well,
I
you
feel the
can
same.
play as many more of these as you want to play. You don't need me to do them. I mean, one of my goals in this whole tournament was to bring back the heydays from about 10 years ago where we were blitzing every day. There was some of us somewhere, but then there was really only one chat group then. We were on IRC at the time, not on Discord. And everybody who played Dominions tended to be in the same chat. So we had blitzes going on all the time. And that's a huge part of my motivation for bringing up this dueling tournament. There was probably 3 critical motivations. One is give myself some more stuff to record and show and help my YouTube. The second was to encourage more blitzing style gaming, sit down and all play at once. And I think the third was to demonstrate that dueling, whether it's one versus one or 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3 or whatever, is a different style of play than a regular game because you know exactly who you'll be fighting, so you can build a direct counter, and you know exactly where their capital will be, so you can rush it. And those are major factors in the strategic planning for a duel that you don't have in any kind of free-for-all, because you don't know who's going to be beside you, and you don't know who you're going to get along with and who you're going to really want to war with. So you have to be more generalist in your design. So, Anopey, on your side, did you, by this time, turn 22, were you feeling that there was an economic problem?
Yeah, I mean, like basically my goal was, since I cannot make like unmarked outside of my capital, and my whole strategy was around my bless, which, well, I guess wasn't executed correctly, but at the time I didn't know that. I wanted to go for an early kind of aggression, which is why I attacked on the eastern side from here,
Mm-hmm.
and while also attacking from the west. So
we very much saw that. Yeah.
yeah, and when I saw that there was a economic disparity, because I kept seeing these green flags, and I basically got desperate, which is why I went for a siege.
So
I was
here's
like, I have to break him now, or he's gonna absolutely stomp me.
Cassis Belly on YouTube just made a really good comment, so I'm going to jump back into your battle. And I'm going to comment here on something that I did when I played for Moria in Lucid's big tournament. Is I put this exact thing you eventually did, which was 1 Fomorian and 1 Nemedian in every square. And that fills it up to 6 points. And that really increases your attack density per square. Because one of the weaknesses of unmarked is they're tough, they're really hard to kill, but they only have 1 attack. So you throw in Nemedians, and now you've gone to 2 attacks plus a magic weapon in every square. So this was a much stronger, even just furbolgs, either one in the square. So that's something, anytime you've got a size 4, it's a really good thing to see if you've got something size 2 or size 1 to fill squares. Square filling is a critical thing in Dominions. So yeah, that was a great comment. And so you were doing well battle-wise, but I think where you were, and another thing from our point of view watching the game is I can't see if the white centers are sneaking around underneath things. Omniscience can see them somewhat, but there's things it can't see.
Yeah, so here, basically what had happened the 2 turns prior, because he attacked into me, I think, on that middle square, and so I knew this was coming.
Yes.
And so I had, I think, 3 different squads converge on the capital the turn prior, and then this turn they moved from the capital into that fort where they were supposed to fight. But
You wanted them to fight on top.
right,
Yeah.
because I just thought that I would win because I saw what he had in that middle square.
Well,
I didn't know for sure because I couldn't play test against another person, or I didn't play test against another person.
right.
But just,
Well, that's an interesting comment. The way I test is I use usually the arena map, and then I play both nations, so I attack myself. If you want to test against a human, test against yourself. So you actually play both nations. So I would have set up a game here with Formoria and Pangaea, with both of your pretenders, as I guessed you might do, and then I'd attack myself. Does that make sense?
yeah, I do that for battles that I know about. I didn't really think about just doing a microcosm with various stages of the game and seeing how that went.
And
But that's a good idea.
it is, although I'll be fair, I don't think you need to do that for this dueling, because we've got double elimination. You'll get at least a couple games. You'll get a chance to refigure your stuff, and we can always make more brackets and play more games. You know, yeah, I think it's more fun for the concept behind this. It's just YOLO. You know, you only live once, so just go for it. I don't think you have to overtest these things. We've got people doing really well by just, yeah, this looks good. Let's go for it. I've got a comment here from the YouTube. The other key thing about, we should just jump back here. Another key thing is when you fill your squares, you're actually dividing up the attacks. So, you know, if you've got a single guy in a square, then anything engaging with it will hit it. All of the things around it will hit that square. And flanks are especially vulnerable to that. So I'm sure you follow what I basically mean by that. So, okay. So right here in turn 22, this little fight, let me just review what this one was. So that was just a scout got patrolled. And on the messages, there was only the one battle. So do you have any more comments on turn 22, or shall I jump ahead?
I'm curious what the gem income was.
Sure. You were getting well ahead because you'd been searching with your Titan.
I got off to a later start because than I had tested. I think the nervousness of just playing against an actual person contributed to that. But my big loss on turn 2 was to Furbolgs, and because it's a rare type, I hadn't tested too many times, but I had never had a problem with them. So I thought it was worth doing, and they ended up killing the leader, but the whole squad was wiped.
Yeah, you guys.
So
I had a similar thing.
Well, you both lost your first parties. Yeah, you lost yours to
That's
elephants. There was a comment in the
Yeah.
chat during the stream. If you had bought a couple of your big giants, you could have ignored the elephants and just taken them with 2 giants because they couldn't trample
Wait,
them.
what? Like,
Your Fomorian giants are
cannot-
size 6.
okay, so the elephants cannot trample that.
They can't. They can only trample things that are smaller. So one solution, elephants, if you've got it, is you could have brought a king and 2 Fomorian giants and probably just sat there and shook them off
Wow.
cheaply. Anyways, I
Do
mean,
elephants have any other attack other than the trample, or
It's
would they have
garbage.
literally just...
it's effectively garbage.
But they would have
So-
like literally destroyed the elephants with just 3 units.
They would have stood there until they made them run away. Yeah, they would have slowly killed them.
Oh,
But they wouldn't. The elephants wouldn't have been able to get past your regeneration. Plus, of course, regeneration on giants, we could see it here, is so much more than it is on your unmarked. You know, here's your king. So once he's blessed, he's regenerating 7 points a turn, whereas an unmarked is regenerating 4. So
It's percentage based.
yeah. The other comment that was made, and probably would have been good for you, is a couple of giants and a king could have gone and got you this water for a little bit more money. It's just a little bit,
True.
but it's. I'm not a big fan of
Especially since
Fomorian
I'm
giants.
relying on capital.
Right. I think Nemedians and unmarked are more cost efficient than the giants. But the giants are nice for the two examples: one, getting some water, and two, dealing with tramplers. So
I'll keep that in mind for sure.
yeah,
Especially
when you
Traveler's
did
part.
when you did go back to kill the elephants, you did just fine. But you used a better formation the second time, and you took them nicely.
Yeah, I just had more stuff and better
Yeah.
formation.
And actually, and on the topic of furbolgs, just take a look here. This is worth commenting. Furbolgs have exceptionally good stats for a very cheap unit. Like a base attack of 13,
defense.
12, and then they've got some experience, so now they're up to 13. They've got a nice big shield. Not much protection, but they've got javelins. Getting javelins thrown is a trick. You do want to use them when you can, but so okay. Let's move on to 23 then. And if you guys have specific things you want to comment on, please just jump in. I'm mostly working. Okay, so you intended to move and patrol with your white centaurs, yeah. And they went out inside and the minotaurs died, so yeah, that happens. And the only attack was a little bit of independence. But they actually did do some damage to you.
Yeah, that stopped my flanking attack. I that was really annoying.
Well, so I'll have some more videos up. We took Centaur Warriors in the All-Stars game. And like White Centaurs, they berserk. And one of the pains with berserkers is if anything happens to your commander, they go berserk and then they all die because they never run away. So it's one of the... Berserkers are amazing, but if things go bad, you tend to lose the whole army, not just a few. And what got you here is clearly the poison. So, yeah. So the poison makes them go berserk, and then they die of the poison because they're berserk.
So next time, fire, shock, and poison resistance?
Well, no, I would, for dueling, I would only take poison resistance if you are playing against a nation that is likely to do poison play. So if it was Cetis or any water nation, Pan might do poison, but in a duel, no. But poison resist, a lot of people consider poison resist. The poison, yeah, Rail's just asking, was the poison did in those, but that was an independent attack out of the blue. You couldn't have planned for that. So that's nothing you did wrong. All right. So, oh yeah, no, that was 23. What am I doing? So there's no major action. You are working to siege here as Fomorian Anopey.
Yeah.
And you've got it cracked. So of course, now you know you're going to get White Cinders attacking you this turn.
Well, he might not have because they were sneaking into the fort.
Yeah, I did not actually see
well,
them.
He doesn't know where they are, but I'm just saying that
Right.
From an intelligence perspective, there's got to be White Centaurs around somewhere. They move like crazy. Their move speed is huge. If we turn on map moves here, that's Control M for anybody who doesn't know. White Centaurs from the capital could be very easily getting to that fort. Any White Centaurs over here, they could be coming from, a big radius because they can frequently move 3 provinces depending on terrain. So, yeah, mobility is quite a big deal. So most likely, and you'd put together a solid army, about what you could. Anything else you brought had to work its way through some terrain issues. All right, guys. Any more comments on turn 23?
I was just gonna let him siege because I was trying to. I was getting all the research I needed to get my deploy my Titan, which I didn't quite have enough time to do that. But he was ready to go as the game ended.
Okay. Did you have Cloud Trapeze ready?
I did. I think at this point I was building his equipment.
Mm-hmm. And so that would have opened up some options, although Cloud Trapezing in this case wouldn't have helped you. You'd have ended up inside the fort. So whether or not you wanted to fight inside or outside, it's a tough call. With white centers, I'd probably be choosing outside so they can flank. And then main adds sort of at the center pile of crap. But that's a decision you have to make based on how you think you can best win the fight.
Yeah, so I chose to fight inside with them in this case because my chaff had all been killed outside the fort.
Yeah.
I didn't really have I didn't want to risk it all on the swarms holding off because
Right.
his guys are pretty killy, and I didn't know how quickly they would chew through the swarms.
Well,
And plus the extra archer fire.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll move to 24 then, unless anybody any other comments.
Was researching Alt 5, so when he did storm, I think next turn, I had wooden warriors, but I didn't watch the battle closely enough to know if they got hit by it, because I might have had them attack too early or something.
Well, we're about to see it, so we'll take a look at that battle. And I didn't watch it prior till now because all I did was save these turns because I had things I had to do in my real life. But okay, let's move on to 24 then. And there is the big fight. So I'm guessing this may be, yes, okay.
So he won that one.
Not only that, he took your only retreat with a few centers.
At that point, I just said GG.
Yeah, I
ending.
knew this was when you called it. So what are we looking at? So size-wise, he's got a good bit more sacreds than you do. Maybe,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm guessing we're looking at roughly equal numbers of sacreds, but I don't think Barguests are quite as robust as white
blessed.
centers. Well, and not necessarily getting blessed. He's also got he's got Dryad mothers, and they've got gems. Some have gems. Okay, that's going to be a challenge. Quite a lot have gems. And what have we got here? Hierophants with gems, and then the prophet. So he's just going to do divine stuff. And on your side, some druids, some plain druids. You've got moderate amount of air gems. You've got some Morian druids, but no air gems there. So, but you didn't know what was inside, and there is a certain point where you just have to go kind of YOLO. And
I mean, I figured they might be sneaking something in, but I wasn't expecting such a large force because he was also flanking me. I also saw that he was moving an army, at the south of my capital.
Slow this down a little more.
I was expecting like maybe 60% of this.
Yeah, so your line is holding. You're getting some kills. They've gone berserk. Your Barguests are not holding too well. Thunderstrike does help. His swarm, though, is messing up your poor druids in the back, which is one of the dumb things it does. So you've got some of them are running already.
Yeah, and also,
but in the center,
gems, so.
Yeah, in the center you killed, but your Barguests failed on the flank. And it looks like the biggest problem now is you're going to have a rout.
Yeah.
So you weren't that far off possibly winning this, but you would have needed more blessing to be sure that everything got blessed. If the Barguests had been all blessed, I think your flank there might have held a little better.
Mhm.
But it wasn't too bad. I mean, really, you killed 15 white centaurs for 14 lost unmarked and 18 Barguests. That's not a bad trade. The trouble is there was 40 white centaurs.
Yeah.
Your
He just had more
furball,
stuff. Like,
yeah, your furball druids weren't doing a heck of a lot.
true.
But now somebody commented, what level of conjuration research were you at by this point in time? Do you remember?
I think 4. I stopped at the Bargests.
You stopped at
I did not go to the.
Barges.
Yeah, I did
Okay.
not go up to the 6.
We were wondering, we thought you were going to go for 5 for large air elementals. And I think that would have increased your killing power significantly to have large. Because you used some, previously, you used some small air elementals. But once,
Yeah.
if you had noticed that he had magic weapons and that much shock resist, the smalls aren't going to really cut it. Whereas larges would still have trampled him. So if you're going to use the large elementals in a duel, Morrigan's would have been the most the strongest use of your death gems, but whether or not you could have got enough Morrigans out based on there at Conjuration 6 before the duel was kind of finished is hard to estimate. I think in a case of a duel, going for 5 would have been an excellent move. Going for 6 probably wasn't the best, and so using your death gems on Barghest was good. My only really strong recommendation there would be bring more priests. One comment was what you could have done for priests is found an independent, put up a temple in an independent, and buy a whole bunch of 40 gold cheap priests.
Yeah, I should have done that for sure.
Yeah. And the other comment that I made to you was, and I think now you understand, always buy 1 PD, because we were surprised that we didn't see just harpies take all your land.
Yeah.
Because all Sumshine would have had to do to remove your entire economy except your capital and the places where you had troops was just sneak in some harpies. Just harpy scouts.
So the funny thing about that, I actually did have the harpies in place to do it, and I saw that message, but because of a fluke experience in another multiplayer game, I didn't think that was the truth. I thought it was lying to me, and I didn't want to lose all my harpies.
Oh, no. When you see there is no province defense, it means there is no province defense. The only thing that you don't know is province defense. If he buys it the turn you see the report, it will show up before your harpies attack. But only if he buys it.
I think that's what happened to me in the multiplayer experience. So I've never tried it again since then. But
okay.
If I notice it again, I won't make that mistake again. I'm glad you pointed that out.
That is the one. Yeah. However, if I see 0, if I'm at war with somebody, I don't do it if I'm not at war. If I see 0 PD and I have a scout there, I'll attack anyways, because what do I care? Who cares if I lose a scout? Yeah, you had, well, how many forts? You had 4 total?
1, 2, 3 at that point. 3. I was about to make another one.
Yeah, so you could have had 24 harpy scouts if you wanted. Or you could have sent them with harpies.
I think I had the majority of his provinces covered with harpies. I just didn't want to lose him because I wanted to know everything that he was doing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so this is where you said this is over, right, Anopey?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and that's
I lost another fight before that too, so
yeah,
it was looking pretty grim.
Yeah, it was. So I mean, and that's part of dueling is there's really no point. Plus, you both commented in the, and this is a fun thing to note. You both commented that you were both like, after 2 hours of concentrated blitzing, dueling, you were both kind of getting tired, I think. Or at least, it's pretty intense, isn't it?
Yeah, my
Pretty
at the
intense,
end of
yeah.
it, my hands were shaking so bad
Yeah,
that when I
yeah.
needed to hit hotkeys, I was having to try a few times because they were shaking so bad.
Well, most of the duels that go past about turn 25, they shift to a slower mode, and we just shift to taking your time on your turns.
So most duels finish before 25, or
They've been finishing
Is
around
one of them?
20 to 25, the majority of them.
yeah, and ours also, I guess.
Yeah, it's right
is
in
at
that.
point.
Yeah.
No, like
Because
it becomes clear that someone has won. Like there's no need to continue. And
that's right. And this is, we're doing these for fun. I mean, yeah, there's
yeah.
probably some guys that are desperately trying to win the tournament. But this first one is an experiment in both. It's an experiment for me on how to organize these things and not lose my mind. Because it's quite a lot of work. I mean, a couple of these weekends, I've had 7 or 8 duels all going on, and messages flying right, left, and center as I'm helping people with picks and I'm organizing the sheet and various things. So,
it's like a full-time job.
well, it on the weekends, yeah, the majority of the players are more available on the weekends, so which is fine. Unless my son's visiting, and then I have some limited ability to deal with stuff. So, all right. So there's really nothing to see on turn 25. I think I just hit end turn for that one. I'll open it very quickly.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
believe that's...
I sent him a message at turn 24 saying GG, and then
Yep.
we just
Yeah, and there we go. So there's no action. There's nothing going on. But we can see, here comes white Centaurs up to your capital. So,
yeah.
So both of you guys have another match coming up. And let's just take a moment here. Do I have this screen open? Where are we here? New player duel. Bring that over. Put it on the stream. It'll only show on the YouTube stream, but let me see if I got that thing. Where is it here? Is that it? Nope, that's not the one I want to see. Need to change what window it's looking at. Yeah, there it is. Here it is. Okay. So who have you guys both got coming up next? Sumshine, we don't know yet. We need Nyax and Savine to play. And Anopey, you actually have a match signed up here.
Yeah.
Which surprised me.
Surprised me, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't talked yet, but
Okay, that's fine. Just so you'll have another match, and then, I mean, if you do well, you'll carry on, and if not, you won't. But if you want to play more, we can always just arrange for people can feel free to duel on your own, or if you need me to give you a hand organizing something.
yeah, I mean that definitely sounds good. I actually thought these tournaments were a commonplace because basically
No.
I started playing the game, and then a day later you made the announcement.
No,
So,
this
yeah.
is, and I think it was Sumshine. You were the one that said, I think you were the one mentioned, would you do it for new players? And I said, well, sure. Let's just split out a new player bracket.
Yeah, I mean you did that literally when I joined the game.
Yeah.
The day
Well,
after.
no, the last dueling tournament was in 2012 that I'm aware of.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. And it was in
I
Dominions
must have
3.
joined at a very fortunate time.
Well, there's lots of other ways to play for new players. And as you know, probably the best place for new players is the hub, Dominion's Game Hub.
Yeah.
Because RCK
I was using
focuses
that.
on new players.
Now I'm using Lucid's server instead because Momentum Murray there has like a million games running.
and
so I'm just leeching off his games.
Sure. And Lucid server, well, It's much the same people doing the help stuff on both of those two Discords.
Mhm.
You know, there's Cy and me and lots of folks available for coaching. And I'm kind of hoping that I can get direct hosting on my Discord coming up. But for now, the version 4 bot is not ready for expansion. I did request, but Vithel said he can't expand just yet. There's just still too many bugs with the bot.
The subject of upcoming opponents, I'm rooting for Nyax because he just killed me in another game. So
That'll
I'd
be
like to
fun.
get that grudge match.
Well, I don't. Most of these folks on the new player list are new people to me, so I've just met most of you in the past couple of weeks. Yeah, Memento Mori I've seen a little bit before. But most of you guys are all brand new to me, so I have no idea whatsoever of who's good or isn't good, or because you do find that you get new players who say I'm new and they mean they just bought the game and they've never opened it, and you get other people who say I'm new because they've never won a game, but they have played 100 single player games and they already know all the nations and all this stuff.
I fall in the former.
Right.
I've only played
Well,
Olm and Pomoria.
see, I played single player and pretty much exclusively the 3 monkey nations for about a year before I stopped lurking because I was intimidated by the online community. It was a
See, like,
little hyper
single player
aggressive.
always, I don't know, multiplayer just feels so much more interesting, which is why I decided to join even if I got killed instantly.
I
I
think,
tend to enjoy losing and then learning from that.
right. Well, I think one of the reasons that Dominions is a better game multiplayer is simple things like Winter never built a diplomacy engine. So, unlike almost every other large strategy game like this, 4X game, you can't buy off your neighbors. They're going to attack you no matter what you do. So then it's just you versus the world every time you play, which I find a little boring. But,
And also the AI cheats
well, yeah.
with higher difficulty.
Yeah.
So like, maybe I'll get used to playing a certain way against those advantages. But when I play against other people, those tactics won't work. Or I'll
Well,
have a distorted.
it's a bit of an off topic, not that off topic, but I happen to find there's a remake of the original Master of Orion that I've streamed a bit called Remnants of the Precursor. And one of the developers just does the AI, and he's built an AI for that game that without cheating is unbelievably difficult because it's just plain smart. It's just plain smart. It builds its ships perfectly and it expands perfectly, which isn't cheating. It's the same thing a competent human could do.
Yeah, it's just very hard to build such AI.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first really good strategy AI I think I've ever seen. Because most of them can be exploited, whether it's Civ.
Which one did you say it was? Which game?
If you check my
Remnants
YouTube,
of the Precursor.
yeah, I've got a channel.
I see it in the channel. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a channel on it on the Discord, and Sumshine, you're the one I think that has checked it out.
I haven't played it yet, because my friends had really liked Master of Orion 2, and I didn't know that there was such a big difference between 1 and 2.
Yes.
The reason I haven't tried it is because it doesn't have a multiplayer, which I guess is more of Orion 2.
Well, the engine in 1 was made before there really was any multiplayer other than a few play-by-email games. Because there was no, this is 93, right? I mean, my internet in 93 I had to use CompuSoft, CompuServe, and I was limited by, I couldn't really download pictures or anything. It was very, very limited. So
I did notice I really liked the improvements to the art.
yeah. But the biggest improvement in the Remnants is it is effectively the same engine rebuilt entirely from scratch, but it's very faithful to the original. They removed a few of the blatant exploits, but the biggest difference is the AI is much more interesting. It's really difficult at normal difficulty. Even easy can be hard. All right.
I see it on HIO, so I'll definitely give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you need a link. I think that's it for the stream. Any final comments from either of you?
If you wanted to know how much of a new player I am, before I just started playing again, but I had 3 games under my belt and I lost all 3.
Well,
The
that's
Dreamer game was my first one, the first Dreamer games, and that was my best game. And the reason I did pretty well on that is everybody didn't think Aretha was a threat and left me alone up until the mid game.
good. Okay. Well, keep in
Winning in a
mind,
free for all is gonna be hard, right? There's so
you
many
were to
players.
take 100, let's use the number 120. 120 players with equal skill. The best player in that group, if it had a 1 in 12 win rate, that would be sufficient to say this is a very good player. Because the average game size is 12 on average. I've kind of looked around various ways to figure this out, but that's the most common game size. And that means that even somebody really good, if they had a win rate of 1 in 6, well, that's, winning twice as much as statistically they should, all things skill-wise being equal. So a win rate of 1 game in 12 is really good. I had a win rate for a while here in Dominions 5, almost 50%. Not that way anymore. People are getting a heck of a lot better lately.
The whole multiplayer scene helps, probably.
It does, yeah. Well, and
I
there
didn't
are
know it
people
was
who...
new, actually.
What's that?
I didn't know that it was new, this whole bot hosting and
Well, bot hosting...
the hub.
Yeah, that started with Dominions 4. Dressel made the first bot. Before that, Direct Connect games required you to muck around with Hamachi or open your ports, or somebody had to run an extra copy of Dominions at home. So everybody used Llama Server. And, there's still a couple things I prefer about Llama Server, but they're due to making YouTube. The one advantage to Llama Server for me is that I don't have to muck about making directories for turns. Everything shows up in my email as this is turn 12 of this game. And so I have thousands of archived game turns sitting in my email that I could go back to if I wanted to look up a game from 13, 14 years ago. Whereas for Direct Connect, I have to manually manage the folders.
See.
But beyond that, Direct Connect is a lot easier.
Yeah, I don't think I could play with email.
It's not hard, but it's a little different. I wouldn't go back now. Okay, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you guys for taking an hour off this morning and talking about Dominions.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
for
hosting
having me.
this.
You are most welcome. And then, depending on who's hanging around in the channel, I might start up another stream of just questions, but we'll chat there before we do that. So you don't have to leave the voice channel if you still feel like doing something Dominions-y. But I'm just going to end the stream so that it breaks up into separate videos.